Om Sthapakaya cha dharmasya sarvadharmaswarupine avatara varishtaya Ramakrishnaya te namaha. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. To the establisher of religion, to one who was the embodiment of all religions, to the divine incarnation for this modern age, to Sri Ramakrishna, we offer our salutations. Peace, peace, peace be unto all. The subject for today's talk is Sri Ramakrishna's Mahavakyas. We can start by mentioning or translating the meaning of the word Mahavakya. It is comprised of two words. Maha means great, Vakya means utterance. Great utterance. So in Vedanta, there are many Mahavakyas in the Upanishads, great utterances. They are meant for meditation and contemplation. So the more we think about these statements, the better it will be for our spiritual life. The more meaning we will draw from this meditation. Traditionally, there are 4 Mahavakyas, one for each Veda. So the first one is Prajnanam Brahma. Brahman is pure consciousness. You could say that is the definition of God. What is God? What is Brahman? Pure consciousness. The second one is Aham Brahmasmi. I am Brahman. What is the nature of the subject, the thinker, the experiencer? The experiencer is also Brahman, pure consciousness. The third one is Tattvamasi. Thou art that. What is the other person I am interacting with? They are also that Brahman. They are also pure consciousness. And finally, I am Atma Brahma. These Atman, these individual souls, human beings, animals, plants, they are all manifestations of that pure consciousness. So in other words, the essence of the teaching of the Upanishads is everything is Brahman. Everything is pure consciousness. So we could say the same thing about Sri Ramakrishna's teachings. There are some utterances that are very important that we should study and think about. The more we reflect on them, the more meaning the more light we can get from that utterance, that teaching. Sri Ramakrishna said that we live in the Kali Yuga, the dark age, the age of untruth, the age of darkness. So according to Hinduism, there are 4 ages that we go through in our evolution. The world goes through. The first one is Satya Yuga, the golden age. Everybody is spiritual, everybody is truthful. So somebody said that to give you an understanding of what the Satya Yuga is like, the gods and the demons, they are in their respective worlds. The gods are in heaven, the demons are in the lower regions, and there is peace on earth. That is the Satya Yuga. The second one is Treta Yuga. The gods and the demons come to live in this world. And the example given is Rama was in Ayodhya, and Ravana was in Lanka. And their followers, the gods and the demons, there was a little conflict. It's not so peaceful anymore. The third age is Dvapara Yuga. There is more conflict, more darkness. And the example given is Krishna and Duryodhana, the Pandavas and the Kauravas. The gods and the demons are in the same family. They are fighting over the same kingdom. So there is a lot of conflict. There is a lot of unrest all the time. But then we come to the Kali Yuga, the present age, which is the darkest of all. And they say the gods and the demons are within us. They are inside the same person. How much unrest, how much conflict we experience when the gods and the demons have entered inside of us. So Sri Ramakrishna said that we live in this dark age, the Kali Yuga. He said the rituals of the Vedas that are very elaborate and hard to perform are not suitable for this age. He said that the path of bhakti, or devotion to God, loving God, worshiping God, is the most suitable path to approach God. He said another thing that is interesting. You could call it a Mahavakya. He said, in this dark age, the tapasya, the austerity for this age, is truthfulness. Now, it's a bit of an unusual statement. When you think of austerity, you think of deprivation. Okay, you fast, you observe silence, you stand on one leg, you endure cold or heat. That is the kind of thing that we understand by austerity. We give in charity, we deprive ourselves, we undergo some kind of unpleasantness for the sake of God. But Sri Ramakrishna, instead of saying any of these things, he said, for this dark age, truthfulness is the best form of austerity. And the way he defined truthfulness is also very interesting. He said, what is truthfulness? Mon muk ek kora. Mon means mind. Muk means speech or mouth. Ek kora means unify, make them one. Just 4 words, mon muk ek kora. But it has a deep meaning. This definition of truthfulness, to make one's thoughts and speech the same. There is no conflict. So let's look a little at this Mahavakyas of Sri Ramakrishna. When people are under oath, you say sometimes on TV, they will be under oath. They are giving some testimony in Congress or whatever. And there is a formula that they repeat to them. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? And the person will say yes. And then they start giving their testimony. Now, when you think about it, what is the need to ask that question with so many words? Shouldn't it be enough to say, do you swear to tell the truth? It's a straightforward question. Either you tell the truth or you tell a lie. What is there in between? It should be enough to ask, do you swear to tell the truth? And then yes or no. But no, they go to the trouble to ask, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? It is because of what Sri Ramakrishna meant by this unifying speech and thought. You see, there are many ways to deceive. There are many ways to lie. Now, children don't know about this. Children are very straightforward. You see your kid stealing a cookie, and then you ask them, did you steal the cookie? No. That's the only way they can lie, yes or no. But adults are more sophisticated. It's not as straightforward. So they say there are lies of commission. That means a straightforward lie. You say what is untrue, openly. But that's very hard, because our subconscious is telling us, look, if you are caught, you may go to jail. If you are caught, you may be ashamed in society. So that subconscious pressure it leaks through our body language, through our tone of voice. So it's hard for adults to tell a plain truth when somebody's looking at you in the face. Somehow we give signals that give us away. So it's very uncomfortable to say something that is not true. So what do? Well, we have other ways. So the other one is lie of omission. So you don't tell a lie, and yet still you conceal the truth. So you're not lying openly like a child would do, but you're still concealing the truth. So that is why the second sentence is the whole truth. Do you swear to tell the truth? The whole truth. Don't hide anything. To give you an example, there was a monastery that had a lot of gold and silver and relics from saints, and there was an army marching, going to conquer that, to plunder. So the abbot called one of the trusted people connected with the monastery and said, look, take everything away. You bring your people, I don't know who they are, people you trust, take everything away, put it in a place that is safe, that you only know about, okay? So the monk does that. Then when the general of the army comes to the monastery, hoping to get all the gold and silver, he asks the abbot, where is it? We know you have it. He said, no. Somebody took it. Somebody came before you. Who? I don't know. Where did it go? Where did they take it? I don't know. And he can truthfully say that he doesn't know, because he prepared the ground for that. So he's not lying. He can feel good about it within himself. I truly don't know who took it, and I truly don't know where it went. And yet, all it takes is one word to that person, and everything comes back to the monastery. So that is lie of omission. You are omitting something. It is in your mind, but you are not revealing it. So we deceive ourselves when we do that. Sri Ramakrishna said, no, that is lying. That is not telling the truth. There is an incident in St. Francis' life. There was a thief who was being chased by a mob. He had stolen something, and in those days, the mob would just take justice in their own hands. So the thief came, and St. Francis was standing there at the crossroads, and the thief turned right, and the mob came and asked St. Francis, which way did the thief turn? And he looked in the left, and said, in that direction, towards the left. And everybody went toward the left. And then St. Francis' companion asked him, why did you lie? He went to the right, and you said to the left. And he lifted his habit and said, but my finger is pointing to the right. They cannot see it is their problem. So that is equivocation. Another name for it is equivocation. Yes, you look to the left, but then without their knowledge, you were pointing to the right just to feel better about it yourself. But yet, St. Francis was saving lives. So, it's hard to tell what's right, what's wrong. These are all examples. Then there is another type of lie of influence. So somebody says, did you steal the cookies? And the person says, you know I don't like sweets. How can you ask me that question? Now, the answer to the question is yes or no. And the answer they are giving is completely different. The answer they are giving is, I don't like sweets. How can you ask me that question? So this is misleading. You are influencing the questioner with extra information that is irrelevant. So when you watch on TV the politicians and the CEOs answering questions, you will find all of this over and over again. So the same question is asked in so many ways. They're trying to grill them, to put them under pressure to tell the truth. But these guys know all these tricks. They will do this. They are experts. How to conceal the truth without lying. They know. If they tell the truth, if they lie under oath, they go to jail. And if they tell the truth, they go to jail. So they know that. So you see how just 4 words of Sri Ramakrishna, how much meaning they have. What is truthfulness? It is to reveal what is in our minds, our intention, our thoughts, our feelings, not just verbal truthfulness. No, there are conventional rules of society that we have to observe. You cannot be 100% truthful unless you are Sri Ramakrishna, you know. He could be uncompromising. Once he was taken to meet an aristocrat, but he had been given the title by the British because he was a collaborator. So the British were very clever. You help us, and then you are king. You know, we'll call you king. So Sri Ramakrishna, as soon as he met him, he said, I cannot call you a Raja, a king, because I would be lying. Now, you can imagine that man was not very happy. But Sri Ramakrishna could do that. He just spoke what he thought. But for us, we cannot function in society if we are telling what is on our mind all the time. For instance, to give an example, somebody asks, how are you? Just casually, you meet somebody, colleague at work, somebody at Vedanta Society, and how are you? Oh, I'm fine. Everybody's happy, okay? You say you're fine, everybody will be happy. But if you happen to be depressed or sick, and you say, I'm depressed, then the person says, oh, okay, what's the matter? They have to stop in their tracks and give you time and attention, which they were not expecting. So we say, I'm fine. I may not be fine, but it's just how society works. It's a lie that is demanded from us by society. We have to say, I'm fine, because otherwise it will be never ending. Everybody will be asking, what's wrong? That's the wrong answer. You cannot give me that answer. You have to be fine, okay? When your wife asks you, when your husband asks you, then you can tell the truth. But we are just meeting casually. I don't have half an hour, okay? So you have to be, please be okay. So we encounter all these things all the time, and we find ourselves having to lie. And in India, there's a different kind of, it shows itself in a different way. In India, they are very open about this. And somebody say, how are you? Oh, I'm a little depressed. Oh, what happened? Oh, this happened. I have a little illness. Oh, what happened? Oh, this happened. They exchange a few words and then they go their own way. It's like no big deal. But then, if in India they say, what time will you come? 5 o'clock. It will never happen. It will be any time but 5 o'clock. So these are cultural differences. If we want to be strictly truthful, it's very difficult to function in society. Very difficult. It's not practical. So what are we to do? We want to practice Sri Ramakrishna's teachings. He said that he gave us an idea what truthfulness is. So one way to judge, you know, sometimes we are in a dilemma, what to do. Should I tell the truth or should I not? And how to solve that conflict, how to decide what's the right course of action. So one way to do it is to ask ourselves, if I don't tell the truth, who benefits? Is it me or is it the other person? Because sometimes you have to lie out of kindness. Sometimes you may have to lie to save a life. It's better to tell a lie than somebody dying, okay? So whenever we face this kind of conflict that we don't know what to do, okay, who will benefit from it? Is it just to further my own interests? Or is it to benefit somebody else? Is it an act of kindness to somebody else? Or is it an act of kindness to my own ego, which is not necessary? So that is one way to approach the problem. Even Sri Ramakrishna, he gave us some leeway. In the Gospel, you will find there is a passage where he warns against 4 things. He said, be careful when you encounter a dog, a bull, a drunkard, and a powerful person. So he goes through all the 4 dangers and what you have to do. But The last one, the powerful person, he says, a powerful person, they have the capacity to harm you with their influence, with their money, with their power. So you have to be careful when dealing with such people. Perhaps you may have to agree to what they say. Isn't that lying? If there is a powerful person, and to preserve my own self, I may have to agree to what they say. I may not really agree, but I may be forced to agree. So even Sri Ramakrishna is giving us a little leeway. He defines what truthfulness is so that we don't deceive ourselves into thinking that I am being truthful when in fact I am not. So if I'm not truthful, I can say to myself, I'm telling a lie, but this is the least evil course of action. Of the two evils, this is the least bad, so I'm doing that. We're being honest with ourselves. So you see all these ramifications from just 4 words of Sri Ramakrishna. So Sri Ramakrishna said that bhakti is the most suitable path for this age, and when you read the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, it's full of it. He is always telling, love God, sing God's praises, worship God, etc., etc. But we shouldn't think that he didn't teach the other yogas as well. He taught Karma Yoga as well. Although he said that Karma Yoga is very difficult because the desire for recognition will crop up without our knowing even. He did mention things about Karma Yoga. Once he was describing the Vaishnava religion, the religion of Chaitanya. And he said that this particular religion, they stress 3 practices. Love for the name of God. You repeat God's name because you have taste for the name of God. You find joy in repeating God's name. The second one is service of the devotees. You want to serve the devotees of God. And the third one is showing compassion to all beings. And when Sri Ramakrishna said that, showing compassion to all beings, suddenly his mood changed. And he said, no, that's not right. It's not compassion. Who are you, an insignificant human being, to show compassion to others? We are nothing. So he said, it's not compassion, but service. Service of all beings as God. When Swami Vivekananda heard this utterance of Sri Ramakrishna, it made a big impression on him. And he said, this is a new truth I have heard today. If I get the chance, I will preach this in the future, whenever I get the opportunity. Shiva Jnane Jiva Seva. That is the utterance from Sri Ramakrishna. You could call it a Mahavakya. Shiva means God. Jnane means the knowledge, considering as God, in the awareness that they are God. Jiva Seva. Jiva is an individual soul, any being in this universe. Seva means service. Serve all beings as God, not show compassion to others. So it changes our whole attitude. It's very easy to serve our relatives and friends, even our fellow devotees in Vedanta, people whom we like, people towards whom we have affinity. It's very easy to serve them and try to help them. But then we have to expand it to the whole humanity and beyond, to all beings, animals, plants, everywhere, nature. Service of everything as God. Everything is a manifestation of God. This will give us true humility, because I am not giving a few coins to the beggar. The beggar is God appearing before me, giving me the opportunity to serve him. I am below and the beggar is above me, not the other way around. So that is Karma Yoga. He also taught jnana. Now, this may sound surprising that Sri Ramakrishna taught jnana to his devotees. But it's true, when you read the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna, there is a lot of jnana there that he taught to the householder lay disciples. You see, Sri Ramakrishna was against the idea that I am Brahman, Soham, I am that. He said that's wrong. Everything is going on. By that he meant you're procreating children, you are greedy, working, and you are hating others. And then again you say, I am God. That's wrong. You are behaving like an ordinary human being, and you say you are God. So Sri Ramakrishna said, that attitude is harmful. We are not being true to ourselves. We are living an ordinary life, and at the same time saying, I am God. That will not work. But he taught jnana in a different way. He said, God alone is real. All else is unreal, temporary. That is jnana. The world is short-lived. The only reality is God. So he used to say, always discriminate between what is real and what is unreal. Use your reasoning power. This world is very short-lived. We are here for just a couple of days. We think this is very important, but it's not. Before you know it, it's over. He told a nice story. He said, Shiva and Nandi were in Kailasa. Okay, Shiva is on his mountain with his companion Nandi. Suddenly there was a tremendous noise, and Nandi asked Shiva, what happened, that noise? Shiva said, Ravana is born, that big demon. Then after a few seconds, there is a loud noise. Nandi said, what happened now? Ravana is dead. So it's what for us is a lifetime, it's really relative, it's nothing. This life is very ephemeral, and it is changing all the time. Nothing is permanent. So what is real? Only God is real. You know, what is that? There is something that the older you get, the younger you look. The older you get, the younger you look. A photograph. Take a photograph, and as we age, that photograph looks younger and younger. Now, the photograph doesn't change. It is as we change. So the older we get, the younger that photo looks. 5 years ago, you show it to your friends. Oh yeah, yeah, I can tell. Yeah, you were a little thinner, or you had more hair. Yeah. But if you show a picture from 50 years ago, they'll say, that's not you. Come on. That cannot be you. You are lying. Show me your true picture. What happened? We have changed because everything is changing all the time. It is unreal. But we will say, no, that's me. Believe it or not, that's me. So when we were 10 years old, we felt this is me. When we are 60, 70, we still feel this is me. But people will not believe us. They'll say, no, that's not your photo, sorry. Somebody asked Sri Ramakrishna, then is the world real or not? We want to know, because for us it is very real. But you're telling that the world is unreal and only God is real. However, for us, it's very real. Sri Ramakrishna's answer was, so long as you are in ignorance, it is unreal. Isn't that like a paradox? So long as you are in ignorance, you are not illumined, it is unreal. But when you become illumined and you see things as they really are, it is real. So it is unreal the way we look at it. We see matter. We see change. That is not the truth. The truth is God, pure consciousness. When we become illumined, we know things as they are. And we can see that the world is real, it's just not what we thought it was. So then the other question they asked Ramakrishna is, if for the illumined soul the world is real, or for the person in ignorance the world is unreal, then there is no sin or virtue. Everything is unreal. Sri Ramakrishna said, well, so long as you have an ego, there is sin and virtue, there is good and bad, and you are in ignorance. When you become illumined, you transcend your ego. There is no more good or bad, sin or virtue. But that is a very high state. We talk about it, we read about it, but it's really very, very high for very advanced souls. Sri Ramakrishna said, even an illumined soul, when they come back to this world, they will still see good and evil. They will still see virtue and sin. And he gave an example. He said, even an illumined soul will have likes and dislikes. They will like to worship God. They will like to talk about God. They will dislike the opposite. If you do something worldly, if you do something evil, they have aversion to that. So even an illumined soul is under this duality. It is only when we transcend the ego in samadhi that we can go beyond this duality. So another Mahavakya of Sri Ramakrishna, you could call it, is Kamini Kanchan Maya. What is Maya? What is this ignorance that keeps us in the dark? It's nothing but lust and greed, according to Sri Ramakrishna. When you study the history of humanity, what is the driving force behind all the conflict and all the drama, the human drama? It has been these two things, lust and greed. Things haven't changed much over the millennia, you can say. Sri Ramakrishna said there is yoga and bhoga. There is things that lead us to God, and there are things that take us away from God. So yoga is union with God. Bhoga is worldly enjoyment. But he didn't say you have to live a joyless life. He never said that. He said, be joyful, be cheerful. Just be aware of these two things, lust and greed, because they can lead us astray if we are not careful. But other than that, you don't have to be a joyless person, torture yourself. Be happy. So when he said that Maya is lust and greed, he is not telling that, please be morose and sad. He said, be happy. He said, Kabe gorom, shobe norom. That's another. It's not a Mahavakya, but it's a statement of Sri Ramakrishna. So it's kind of funny. He said, Kabe gorom means eat food that is warm, that is tasty. Don't eat stale, cold food. Don't torture yourself by eating that kind of food. And shobe norom means lie down on a soft bed. You don't need to lie on the hard floor and torture yourself. So Sri Ramakrishna's statement. Eat nicely, sleep nicely. These things are not important. What is important is where our mind is. And these two things can lead our minds away from God, lust and greed. So that's the problem. So what are we to do? You see, we want to be happy. That's hardwired in us. We are looking for ananda, bliss. And we cannot stop it. You cannot kill that drive to search for happiness. If a person does not want to be happy, there is something wrong with them psychologically. Okay? A normal person wants to be happy. That's normal. And that's the way we should live our lives. But what are we to do then? We are looking for happiness outside. We are looking for that ananda. But we don't get it. Instead, we get sukha and dukkha. We get pleasure and pain. We don't get true bliss. It's always this pleasure and pain, this duality. And that pleasure and pain comes through persons and objects, okay? So imagine there is this divine being pervading this universe, making up this universe, that is all bliss. And we are one with that being. We are searching to be united, reunited with that being, which is our true self. That is our blissful state. But that is not accessible to us at the moment, so we are looking for that connection through little channels. So a person is like a small pipe through which that Ananda is trying to come to me. An object also. So that I get a little happiness from one person. And then that person rejects us. And then that happiness turns to misery. The person who was the source of my joy becomes the source of my misery. Otherwise, people would not get divorced. Okay? Something happened. People got married because they found joy in each other's company. And then something happened along the way, and they find misery in each other's company. Isn't that weird? That the same thing that gives us pleasure then gives us pain? It's very strange. It's the same thing. So you eat some cake and you get pleasure from that cake. Then you eat the second piece and a third piece, and then there's a tipping point when from pleasure it goes to pain. But by the time we realize, it's too late. We have indigestion. We miss that tipping point. It's very hard to say, okay, I think I'm getting close. Okay? I better stop. Generally, it's too late. And now I am in pain. Like I mentioned this before, one of our Swamis, when we have Bandara, when we have a feast in India, all the Swamis are so happy, mountains of sweets, everybody's being merry and eating nicely. And one Swami used to look at everything, and then he said, eat sumptuously, suffer silently. So you eat together sumptuously, you're so happy. Then you go to your room and you suffer silently. There's nobody to have fun with you anymore. So that is what Sri Ramakrishna said. This lust and greed is the main obstacle, but it doesn't mean that you should have no joy in your life. You have to be joyful. That is the way to live our lives, to be cheerful, to be positive. But beware, because there are dangers. Just beware. So we said that we are trying to reconnect to that bliss, that divine bliss, that is our true nature. And we cannot. So what are we to do? What is Sri Ramakrishna's advice in that case? He said, this could be another Mahavakya, more phirye change the direction. Okay, we have that drive to be happy. We cannot kill it. Change it. We are looking for happiness outside. Why not try within and see what you find? So this is a very nice statement of Sri Ramakrishna. Imagine there is a current of water flowing. You cannot stop it. You cannot say to the water, stop. It will accumulate, and eventually it will break the barrier. So what are you to do with that water that is going to waste? You redirect it and use it for something useful. Put it to some use. So in the same way, all our energy is going to this world in the hope of happiness. But unfortunately, this world will come to an end. And everything will be we will have to leave everything behind. Very sad, but is the reality. So, if that is the case, then why not try something else? Change the direction. You cannot stop that water from flowing. You cannot stop that hankering for happiness. You cannot kill it. It is inborn in us. We want to be happy. So, what is the solution? Look for it somewhere else. That's all. That same happiness can be found somewhere else. Sri Krishna spoke of 3 types of happiness in the Gita. The first one is rajasic. It means we experience it through the senses. I eat something tasty, and I get some pleasure. It requires no training. You take a baby, you give a piece of candy, they'll put it in the mouth, and they will be happy. You don't need to train them for that, okay? Anybody can enjoy that kind of happiness. So that is ordinary happiness that we get in this world. Then you have tamasic. Like people, for instance, taking drugs, you can see that they can hardly think. The mind is completely clouded. So that is a kind of tamasic happiness. They find some joy, otherwise they wouldn't be hooked. But yet, it's very harmful, and they cannot think straight, they cannot function properly. So that is tamasic happiness. It's a kind of confusing kind of happiness. You are not fully aware. You are not fully in control. And the third one, the last one, is sattvic happiness. And for that we have to train ourselves. It is the happiness that comes as a result of struggle, of trying. For instance, when you take to spiritual life, suppose you come as a regular person, a worldly person, and suddenly, in the course of your life, you come to the conclusion that I need to make a change. I think I need to become spiritual. That is what I need to do. So you found some book or some place that appeals to you, and now you have to face the task of becoming spiritual. The change is from an ordinary, selfish, worldly person to a spiritual, unselfish person. That will not happen overnight. We need to train ourselves. Nobody can do it for us. So gradually we train ourselves. Okay, I can see that I may have an anger problem. I may be narcissistic. I may have so many defects. Let me work on them. Let me try to worship God and become a better person. So that, when we do that, the result of that is sattvic happiness. We'll be happy with ourselves. Sometimes we deprive ourselves of something. Okay? I could have gotten this, but voluntarily I let somebody else have it. So, to all appearances, I lost. Okay? I could have something, and I let somebody else have it. And yet, we get peace. We get satisfaction that, I could let go. We are pleased with ourselves. We are happy with ourselves. Isn't that a reward by itself, in itself? So sometimes it's not just about success outside. Sometimes choosing to be a loser, we become winners inwardly. We get peace of mind. We get satisfaction. That is our reward. That is a kind of happiness, definitely. Another nice statement of Sri Ramakrishna is, Egiye jao, go forward. Go forward. Doesn't matter if you're Christian, Buddhist, Hindu, Vedantin. Go forward. Don't stay where you are. In India, most of you have read the incident of the 1st of January, Kalpataru Day. Sri Ramakrishna awakened the spiritual consciousness of some of his devotees on the 1st of January. And that day is observed in India every year on the 1st of January at the garden house where Sri Ramakrishna gave up his body. So when I was in training center, we went there as part of our work, and we were assigned duties to do. So we went very early. I don't remember what time it was, but it was dark. We went very early. All the novices, all the brahmacharis, and they assigned a certain position. Okay, you stay here, you stay here, you stay here. So I was assigned with other brahmacharis to the room where everything happens. There is the cot where Sri Ramakrishna gave up his body. It's now a shrine. And people come to bow down there. Okay, that is the most important place in the garden house. So there is a huge line of people. People stand for hours to just bow down because it's the 1st of January. Whatever you want, you will get. So there's a lot of appeal that not only God, I can ask for anything. So you will find that it is the day when we get the most offerings, sweets and fruit and everything, because people come with their secular desires in the hope that it will be fulfilled. Now, true devotees will say, no, I only want love for God, but there are all kinds of devotees, so that's okay. So huge line of people, and we were there in the room, and you have the image of Sri Ramakrishna, and people come to stand and bow down. But because there is so much crowd, you have to make them circulate. You have to make them move. So the phrase we used was, "Egiye jan, egiye jan." Go forward, go forward. And that, to me, was like Sri Ramakrishna is telling them, go forward. Don't stand there. I don't think, I don't know how many people make that connection. But that was my duty, at least. Egiye jan, daravenna, daravenna. Don't stand there. Move on, move forward, move forward. And then I thought, oh, it's like Sri Ramakrishna is telling them, don't stand there. Move on. So Sri Ramakrishna always used to say, don't be happy with your own progress. Just because you get a little peace of mind, a little satisfaction, a little progress, there's so much to achieve. Until we get union with God, we are not done. So there is a long way to go. So go forward. Now you may say, okay, but we have our duties and responsibilities. We have so many things to do in the world. How can we go forward towards God? Like Sri Ramakrishna says, go forward, like give up everything and go forward. We cannot do that. Sri Ramakrishna has another statement for that. He said, E okoro, o okoro. That means, do this as well as that. It sounds cryptic. It sounds like a Zen statement. What is this and what is that? What did he mean by that? Do this as well as that. He meant, take care of your worldly affairs, but also take care of your spiritual life. Do this as well as that. Now, our main problem is we do this and we don't do that. That is the problem. But it's not that Sri Ramakrishna said, oh, give up everything. Become a mendicant. Leave your relatives. Leave your kids. Neglect your parents. He never said that. He said, do this as well as that. The problem comes when we only want to do this. And we are very casual about that. It's like, oh, I go to Vedanta every Sunday, I listen to the talk. That should do. That should be enough. Well, unfortunately, it's not enough. And nobody can help us except ourselves. If anybody can train us, it is ourselves. Even in our own monastic order, we have a 2-year course for training. At the end of it, they say, okay, now it's up to you. We did our best. The order, the Ramakrishna order, sacrificed 2 years of useful work to train us in studies, in meditation, and in monastic life. They sacrificed 2 years of useful work by a monastic member. So they've done their part. Now train yourself. So it's up to us, whether you are a Swami or a devotee or anything. Sooner or later, we have to come to the conclusion, to the understanding that yes, my guru can help me, definitely, but it's up to me in the end, how much progress, how much effort I put into it. You see, the same guru has so many types of disciples. Some are making a lot of progress, and some seem to be their same old selves. What makes a difference is the same guru. It's very likely that he gave the same mantra, and yet, what makes the difference is the person, because the guru can help us, but then the choice is ours. How much effort are we willing to put into it? So do this as well as that. If we only do this, that means if you only pay attention to this world, It's like putting all the eggs in one basket. And then what happens? Life comes to an end, and we find the other basket is empty. And then all the eggs have to be left behind. That's no good. You know, we pay so much attention to our retirement. Especially, I noticed this after coming to the US. It's like people think about their retirement even before they go to college. You know, okay, what do I have to do? And then they start working, and okay, at this rate, you will be able to retire at this age and this. So much planning. It's like a science. How much you need to retire and how you can retire comfortably. All things are taken into account. And yet, in our spiritual life, no planning at all. No planning at all. And our spiritual life will help us here and beyond. It's not that the spiritual effort will only help us after death. It will help us here and now. To do our worldly activities better also. I told before this story about the woodcutter. There was a woodcutter, and he was chopping a big tree. And somebody noticed that he was struggling for a long time. He was an amateur, obviously. He was not a professional woodcutter. And somebody noticed that he was going on for a long time and working very hard, but nothing was happening. The tree was still there, hardly any progress. So this person came and said, I think your axe is blunt because you are not cutting the tree, it's not working. And the man said, of course it's blunt, I know. But look at this big tree. Where is the time to sharpen it? I have a lot of work to do. So when we say we don't have time for spiritual life, it's something like that. We don't have time to do the things that will help us do everything better. Oh, it makes no sense. So the more we become spiritual, the easier it will be to function in this world. Our work will be better. Our interpersonal relationships will be better. Everything will be better. We'll sleep better at night, even. Some of the reasons why people cannot sleep at night is anxiety, fear, all these things. If you are closer to God, you will feel less anxiety, less fear. You know God is within me. God is always there. There's nothing to be afraid of. There is nothing to be anxious about. So, even from the point of view of health and well-being, to be spiritual is very beneficial, very desirable. But we tend to think that worldly life and spiritual life are two completely separate things. And we compartmentalize the two. Okay, now I am doing my work, and now I am doing my worship. But in reality, there is only one life. It's only one. And the trick is how to bring our spiritual life into our ordinary life. That is the trick that we have to learn. Continue with everything. You don't have to give up anything. Just turn it, give it a spiritual turn, that's all. So do this as well as that. Another well-known saying of Sri Ramakrishna is Jotomot Totopot. It means as many faiths, so many paths to God. We all have heard this, okay? He taught that all religions are true, and he practiced that. But you can take that teaching a little further even. It's not only the different religions, it's the different people, even in Vedanta. We have to be accepting to all approaches. What do I mean by that? Once a devotee told me, I don't meditate. I only listen to lectures and listen to bhajans, devotional music. I'm very honest. I had to admit I was a little disappointed within. Oh, you have taken a mantra and you are okay? I don't meditate. Just like, I'm sure many people don't meditate, but he was willing to admit that I don't meditate. And my judging mind immediately started judging that, oh, that's not good. Just listening to lectures and music. Why do you take a mantra then? But afterwards I thought, well, Joto mo, toto pot. As many faiths, so many paths. Why should I be narrow? Why should I judge? Maybe it works for him. Listening to lectures and listening to music is all he needs. So we tend to judge others by our own standard. Like the things we like, we think that other people should like the same things. And the things that work for us, we think that the same things should work for everybody. But that's not how it works. So you will find all kinds of devotees and all kinds of swamis, and each one has their own path to God. We should be accepting, open-minded. So you can take that statement of Sri Ramakrishna beyond just religion. Any type of spiritual practice is valid. We should not judge. We don't know what works for whom. Even Sri Ramakrishna said about himself when he was teaching. He said, you don't have to accept everything I say. You leave out the head and tail. Like when people cook fish, you cut the head and the tail and you take the fish. So he says, whatever doesn't work for you from my teachings, you don't need to accept. Only accept from my teachings what is useful to you, what appeals to you. And in Vedanta, we follow this principle, When a teacher, a Swami, a senior Swami, when they are teaching, they are only giving suggestions. They have tried certain things. These things have helped them. Or they have read certain things in the scriptures and they will share with you what they have learned. But then it's up to you. Choose whatever you like and make your own religion. That is the idea of Vedanta. Just pick and choose and make your own philosophy and make your own religion and somehow come close to God. That's all we need to do. Another story about our defective judgment. This is told by a Swami, but I don't remember his name. He said that long ago he used to visit our headquarters in Calcutta, Belur Math, on Sundays and special festivals. And he noticed in Belur Math that the Swami was moving around with a small radio. And he was always listening to the radio. And again, he was like thinking not very highly of what kind of Swami is this, listening to the radio all the time. So whenever he saw the radio Swami, he stayed away. He was not interested. He was not impressed. One day, it was a special festival day, and he decided to spend the night in Belur Math. He asked for permission, and they said, yes, you can stay. You go to such and such a room, and you can stay there overnight. So he went to the room, and in those days, there were no single rooms. They had to share the rooms, 2 or 3 monks. So he goes to the room, and lo and behold, he has to share the room with the radio Swami. So the moment he saw the radio Swami, he, oh no. Oh my goodness, radio the whole night. Then, they just went to bed. And then he woke up in the middle of the night and he found this Swami sitting on the bed in meditation. He thought, oh, that's weird. Radio Swami is not so bad after all. And he went back to sleep. And then after a couple of hours, he woke up again in the middle of the night. The radio Swami is still there, sitting up on the bed, meditating. Then he understood, this is a great soul who spends most of the night in meditation when nobody can see him. Hidden, unknown. And yet, during the day, he's just moving around with the radio like he doesn't know anything. So the lesson he learned is, we should not judge others. We just don't know. Our judgment is based on very superficial knowledge. And that applies to everything. They say we have a bias to have a very high opinion of our own intelligence. Okay? We tend to exaggerate our own intelligence somehow. And so we think that we can figure out people because we are so clever. But the truth is that we cannot. People are very complex. It's not so easy to understand another person. It's not so easy to understand ourselves. Sometimes we say, why did I do that? Why did I say that? It's like, we don't understand why. Somehow we did it. So if that is the case, if we cannot understand ourselves, what to speak of understanding others? Just accept them and don't judge them. At least we should try to do that. Well, the mind will judge, but we tell the mind, be quiet. I don't want to judge. Once an old Swami was being kind of not abused, but was being treated a bit harshly by a younger person. I was there, I was present. And I saw the Swami went like this, with his finger on his mouth. Throughout, he never opened his mouth. So when the young man was done with his whatever he wanted to say, he went away. Then I asked Swami, Maharaj, why did you do like this? You didn't want to speak? Is that why you were listening like that? He said, no. I was telling my mind not to think. I don't want to judge this person. I don't want to hate this person. So I was telling my mind, don't react. He's not afraid about talking. He knows he's not going to say anything. He's telling his mind, be quiet. Let him have his say. I don't care. That is not judging. It's not just not speaking, but also not having an inner reaction, which is very hard to do. So time is up. We went through some ideas about Sri Ramakrishna's great utterances. Om Asato Ma Satgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mritor Ma Amritam Gamaya Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness to light. Lead us from death to immortality. Peace, peace, peace be unto all.